Rafael, ¿empezamos? Empezamos.
Sí.
Perfecto, muy buenos días, saludos a
Perfect.
todos.
Good morning to everyone. I would like to welcome everyone who's accompanying us as our special panelist. My name is Antonio Levy. I am a senior advisor of Care Transform. I support the regional forum of energy planning of CEPAL, known as well as FLOREP. Today, I have the pleasure of being the moderator for this important workshop, the collection of important data and demonstration in the issues of an experience of the countries of Latin America. This organization is organized for Latin America and the Caribbean, CEPAL, in the United Nations, the Brazilian Company of Energy Investigation, EPE of Brazil, Center of Management of Energy Studies, EGWA, Ministry of Foreign Relations of Brazil, the Ministry of Energy of Chile, and the International Energy Agency. We have the support of Mission Innovation, the Climate Plus, and the support of the Regional Forum of Energy Planners, FLOREP, and Care Transform, to which I belong. Today's workshop has objectives to respond to several key issues that can assist the countries to accelerate investments in clean energy in Latin America and beyond. Questions such as of the countries in terms of energy, how much do countries invest in innovation in clean energy? What are the key indicators to support decision-making regarding the investments and innovation of clean energy? How did Brazil and Chile organize to report development and demonstration? What were the main challenges and results of this process? Finally, what could we learn from the experience of these countries, the countries who no longer trace energy innovation? The event represents an opportunity to promote learning on the collection of public data of investigation, development, and demonstration in energy based on the efforts and methodologies of the investments in innovation, clean energy in Brazil and Chile. We hope for today's event to have a fruitful and long-lasting interchange of Latin American countries to promote innovation for the energy transition, for sustainable energy. Before opening the floor, I'd like to remind everyone that this workshop has interpretation. You can please choose the language of your preference, Spanish, Portuguese, and English. We can respond to your questions in the chat in YouTube. To respond, we will be writing down your questions to respond to these later. This is very important for a fruitful conversation and to enrich the conversation. To begin the workshop, I will invite Carlos Musi, Director of the CEPAL office in Brazil, the Prince of Data Innovation Indicators, Energy Data Center of the International Agency, and finally, Stefan Agne, Chief of Cooperation and the Delegation of the European Union in Brazil. Mr. Mose, you have the floor.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Gostaria de cumprimentar a mesa de abertura, a senhora Suzy Lamprins, o senhor Stefan Agne,
Então, so I would like
da Agência Internacional de Energia e o Stefan Agne, chefe do setor.
So I would like to greet to all of my colleagues here. It's a great satisfaction for CEPAL to be able to organize this event with all of these colleagues from the different organizations. I think that we are accomplishing the mission here in CEPAL to promote and disseminate good practices in South America and create a space for dialogue and facilitate the dissemination of knowledge and learning, which may be useful for other countries of the region. Today, we are very pleased to observe the efforts that Chile and Brazil are doing in order to monitor and doing a follow-up of the measures of energy. Both Brazil and Chile are active members of Mission Innovation in the Global Forum, in which their members can help in the innovation of energy and in the fair place of platforms for the interchange of technical knowledge to strengthen the knowledge of the different countries concerning the planning in the different regions. So with all of those experiences in the countries in South America and later in other regions of South America, we'll just join efforts in order to see how will be the different progress and what will be the role of the region in the different areas. I really hope to be here marking a fruitful exchange in of the different South American countries for this innovation, and for CEPAL, especially for the office in CEPAL, we will be at your disposal to just grow our work for the sustainability. Thank you very much, and hopefully we will have a great event and good energies.
Thank you, Carlos. Next, Mr. Prince, data indicators of energy data center. You have the floor, Mr. Prince. Your microphone is muted. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for being here today. So in joining this webinar, we're very happy at the IEA to be co-organizing this event and to promote the collaboration in this region of the world that is at the forefront in a number of energy transition technologies. So we'll take a few minutes today to present to you what we do at the IEA to support the global tracking of public energy agenda data. So first, why should we collect this data? The key reason why it's important are first because it provides information to policymakers for them to take decisions and where and how to invest in energy R&D, both at the national level, but also to benchmark against other countries. Then also to evaluate the effectiveness of existing programs and policies, to identify gaps and opportunities, to make sure that those fit the national energy transition targets. But it is also useful for the private sector in addition to the government, as it can help them define their own energy R&D strategies, as governments have often the possibilities to invest in more niche and risky technologies before the private sector. So to support this tracking effort at the IEA, we've been collecting data on this back to 1974 from our member countries in a database that is published annually. So you can see from this data, you can show that, for example, energy R&D has been going up in the last years for IEA member countries. And these data are freely available on your website. So this database covered the 31 IEA member countries, including Mexico, and also include the European Union. And for the second time now, Brazil has also been given input to the database, which we're extremely happy about, as it is the first non-member countries. So this data covers the number of technologies separated in 8 main categories defined with an international experts consultation. But this type of database is only made possible by the invaluable contribution of countries through the work national governments are producing to collect this data. And to ensure the quality of this data set produced, we know that international collaboration is essential. So first, through the role of international organizations like the IEA, CEPAL, or Mission Innovation, who have unique place to support countries in their data collection, they can act as links and provide standardized methodologies to ensure comparability. They can also provide technical support through discussions and reference documents. And also, like us, international organizations also have a role to promote exchange between countries, because we know that sharing experiences can help improve the data quality through sharing solutions to challenges and encounters, identifying similarities between national systems to see potential improvements, or by taking example of what another country has done to start a fully new system. So, and there's also finally like collaboration between international organizations was also essential to ensure synergies and avoid duplicating work. For example, we have now this collaboration with Mission Innovation and the IEA for this new phase of mission innovation, and we now have a joint data collection on RD&D. So also from the experience of recent workshops and discussions, we have identified an area that was lacking a bit in terms of support that we give and that is given in general, and that's like how to help the country actually collect the data. So based on like this necessity that we talked about for knowledge and experience sharing, the IES started like almost a year ago now to develop a roadmap to collect this data. So this is a product of discussions with around 20 countries submitting data to the IEA, including Brazil. And this roadmap is intended as a guide for countries that are near the start of setting up a new energy RD&D data collection system, but also for countries with existing systems that are looking to strengthen areas. So the publication for this project is planned before the end of 2022, but we can keep you up to date, of course. So from this input from governments, we developed a step-by-step roadmap of what the countries should look in their system. So we're conscious of the vast differences between countries. So we're not saying there is one pathway, but we try to show all the different options that can be considered based on the discussions we had. So from this, we have this roadmap that includes 6 components separated in several steps that you can see here. We know that, you know, the actual collection of the data is one step, but it's not the only step, and it's not the only important one. For example, we saw like that the institutional arrangement phase was very important for the rest of the process, as it's essential to have a precise view of the innovation landscape, to know who's funding the data, and to establish and maintain links between institutions. So to conclude, our experience shows that it's very useful and very important to invest in tracking public and energy RD&D budgets. Of course, the IEA is very happy to support in any way it can in this, and we'd be happy to discuss about bilateral regional collaboration framed around this new roadmap, for example, through further workshops or by supporting the assessment of national data collection systems. So please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you. I'll now give back the hand to Antonio.
Muchas gracias, Susi. Y
Thank you,
finalmente,
Susi. And finally, we see Stefan Arnit, Chief of Cooperation Delegation of the European Union in Brazil.
Adelante, Stefan.
Stefan, you have the floor.
Bon dia, buenos dias, and good day to everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to be here in this opening panel and to witness a seminar on how to collect data and use data for effective policy making related to the energy transition. We are very pleased about the partnership with CEPAL ECLAC under the Euroclima program. The objective of this program is to support partner countries, but also, and perhaps primarily, to exchange experiences between Latin American countries and Caribbean countries, and between the region and the EU. So it's a pleasure to also have the International Energy Agency here on the panel, sharing the experience and getting engaged in this program. On our side, in the EU, we are in the midst of an energy transition, and of course, reliable and good data and good indicators are key to support this policy process. The EU has recently published a Repower EU strategy, and that includes, among others, an expansion of renewable energies and green hydrogen and energy efficiency and improvement of energy efficiency. Cooperation and research and innovation are also a crucial aspect in this strategy. The Latin American region is a key partner for us, and here in particular Brazil and Chile. There's a lot of cooperation already underway between the EU, Brazil, and Chile. Let me just mention a few examples. In Brazil, the EU has cooperation projects to facilitate and improve industrial energy efficiency, supporting Brazilian SMEs with technical expertise and also by facilitating access to financing. In Chile, we have projects to incorporate into the renewable energy systems into the Chilean small and medium-sized enterprises adequate financial and technical conditions for the development of the industry. In Brazil, the EU and its member states are investing in technical assistance, a total of about 90 million euros, and European development banks are currently financing more than 1.2 billion euros of renewable energy projects in Brazil. This includes mostly solar and wind energy projects. As I said, this is a very significant part of our cooperation, and we think will catalyze and accelerate the renewable energy development in our partner countries. Increasingly, also green hydrogen is essential, and there a lot of progress has been made in Chile between the Chilean government, the EU, and Germany and other cooperation partners. Both Brazil and Chile have the huge potential to become important international players in the green hydrogen economy. And that is something that the EU wants to support and foster. Just let me mention one other important project that where European investment has also played a role that in Chile, that is Chile's Cerro Dominador project, the largest concentrated solar power plant in Latin America in the Atacama Desert. Together, we think we can make big achievements and also accelerate investments. I think for mutual benefit, for considering the huge production potential of green hydrogen in Latin America and the huge demand that is in Europe and will be increasing further in the future. For us, the Euroclima Plus program can play an essential contribution to this, and we look forward to continue our partnership under that program with CEPAL and other organizations and various governments in the region. So thank you again for inviting me to this panel, and I wish the meeting a lot of success. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Stefan.
Thank you, Stefan. And we see many systems that are fascinating, and I think that we could speak for hours on this topic. I come from the planning area on my project, and unfortunately, we have a limited time, so we will continue moving forward. I invite Carlos Musi to give us a brief summary of the panorama of sustainability in which innovation is central for renewable energy. Carlos, we cannot hear you.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Thank you, Antonio.
Can you see my screen?
Can you see my screen?
Thank
you very much, Antonio.
Thank you very much, Antonio. So I would like to thank you once more for the support of the European Union. Stefan has been a great colleague, and I really hope that we can keep this such an important collaboration in our institutions. So my function here is a little bit to provide you a framework with regard to the energetic transition, with regard to the development in the region, in the area. So here in CEPAL, we are working in a great boost for the sustainability with regard to the being a central key for the innovation for the energetic transition. So we need to have new ways of clean energies, and we need to have a great offer of those energies in the regions. And if we do not have that, we will not be able to have this great boost. And when I am talking about a great boost or a big push for the sustainability, so the style of development that we are having nowadays is not sustainable. It's even with regard to the social or environment or economic means, we are seeing a great insatisfaction with regard to those 3 points or topics. And those are 3 topics that are very important for our development. The population is not satisfied with regards to this, with the economic perspective, with regard to the social perspective, and also with regard to the environment perspectives. So in order to be able to solve those 3 topics of the sustainability, we have here the topic of innovation. So innovation is really favorable and create technology
in order to
in
solve
order
those
to
3
solve those 3
fields in the environmental fields,
points. We
social
had
and economic
environment,
fields,
social,
and innovation,
and also
as it's
economic
being going today,
means.
is very unequal. There's a very
Nowadays
big
there is a
asymmetry
great,
regarding
it's not
regulation and instrumentation.
equal.
One
So
of the
one of the
founders
founders of CEPAL
has
was
been talking
talking
about this
since
since the
the
40s, that regarding
40s
the
years. So
technical
we
progress
can see here.
in
So
order
if we
to
continue with the asymmetry or with regard to the access to innovation and its
and
implementation, we will only
it's
have
only in
a
a
deepening
It
of
has to do
the
with the deepening
lack
between
of
the relationship between
quality between
northern and
north and
southern
the south,
countries
between
and countries with lower
those
use of
who
natural
just use
resources.
more natural
And
resources and
how
those
do we
who
solve
do not
this?
use them, and how
The
to close
investments
this
are the
gap.
key for
We
that.
need to
If we
have
have sustainable
sustainable
investments that
investments,
take into
taking into
consideration the
account
environmental matter
the social
and
inclusions,
social inclusion,
also
and
the
it's,
economic part,
in
and also the
fact, we
environment.
can
It
actually
can
solve this problem.
sustainability can
Renewable
be
energies
achieved.
represent
So
one of the
for
most
the
important
sustainable
alternatives
energies
to reach that goal.
are
Let me
a
tell
great
you about
strategic
this
sector
great
for
impulse,
this
because
big
we want
push
to
for
have a
the
coordination,
sustainability. So the
the
sustainable
construction of like
energies
the gathering of
represent one of the
investments
great
in order
opportunities for the great push for the sustainability in South America and the
to
Caribbean.
eliminate this
So it
stagnation
allows the creation of a
resulting
virtuous
from
cycle
the
of
pandemics
efficiency for
and
the
its
reduction
results.
of
That is,
pollutants
the idea
and
of
emissions
sustainable
of
economy has
those
to do with a
gases that are
virtual cycle
harmful,
to eliminate
contributing for
emissions and
the
lower emissions of
achievement of the
greenhouse
greater
effect
levels of efficiency,
emissions,
resilience, and integration of
involving
the
efficiency,
energetic systems,
resiliency of the use of
taking
energy. We have
greater
also observed
productivity and
certain uncertainty
competitivity in
regarding
several
some
sectors, and also
the
contributes
use
for
of
the
natural
universalizing
resources,
of the access
droughts,
to the electricity.
and lower
So it's also important a
snowfall in
clear
the
path
Andes,
for
the
the
use of water,
construction of a
and
styles
even
of the
economic
development
issues
with
related
the
to
sustainability
the use
in the
of
economic,
fossil
social, and
fuels.
environmental
The region
areas
has been
in the
reaching a
different
limit of
options that we have
the
available
capacity
for
to
the
use
sustainable
energy.
energies is
And we all
really
know
extensive,
that
and
the
it has
energy
been
planning
broadened with accelerated
are goals
technological
that
development,
take
including the
decades to be
different
reached. By
renewable
means of the
sources, which
power
are
to
not
energy transition,
conventional.
we have to focus on sustainability.
I am
So
not a
I'm not a
specialist,
specialist,
but
but
what we have the options
in an extensive
renováveis não convencionais, especialmente agora o hidrogênio verde está muito em moda, combustíveis avançados, especialmente experiências em etanol, bioquerosene de aviação, né? E também toda a questão de melhorar a eficiência das nossas redes, né? Ou seja, de smart grids. Portanto, nós temos que pensar em como fazer essa transição energética na fonte, né? Na origem dessa energia. Por quê? Porque a demanda está vindo muito forte para a eletrificação, seja para digitalizar a maior parte da economia, seja de aumentar a conectividade, incluindo até mesmo a questão da mobilidade urbana via carros elétricos. Portanto, a inovação em energias sustentáveis é chave, pois ela é um meio de desenvolver soluções técnicas adequadas à realidade de um país, da região, e para reduzir o custo e reter, oxalá, nacionalmente os benefícios dessa transição. Ou seja, voltando à ideia da inovação, da propriedade dessa inovação e da capacidade de implementá-la, né? E alguns exercícios, por que estamos
we
aqui?
can see here some exercises. So see what can we measure here. We will see here the very important exercise because we are planning something for the 5-10 years term. And we already saw it with regard to the sustainable technology, it is having a very good acceleration, and also with regard to the there is a for the different investors in the sustainable energies, it creates a certain problems with regard to the reliability and sustainability with regard to those investments. What can we see here in the different tables? So they can, with regard to those sustainable energies with integration, it can generate the reduction of almost 32% of issuances, and generating also we can estimate about 7 million of new employment for its application. So also going back with regard to the big push for the sustainability, in order to sum up, we see that the styles of the current development are not sustainable. We can see here there is a lack of action, which tends to aggravate the different structural problems of development, and also with regard to the sustainable investment, they have a great potential of transforming the different styles of development. And it's very important to evaluate the different alternatives of each project, so we can so in 5 years we cannot get to obsolete projects or that are not updated and that do not take into account those environment, economic, and also the social aspects. And we also have we are again taking into account those 3 pillars: the environment, the social and economic pillars. That's the only way that we can really achieve our goal. We are really working in that, and I wanted to thank you for your attention and wish you a good seminar with regard to the collection of data, which is essential in this moment, because without that we could not be, without this investment, we could not be doing the monitoring, the evaluation of the options of energy. So I really hope to listen to the experiences of Brazil and Chile that are that they do have a lot of potential, and I think that those 2 countries are an example for the different countries in the area, and also for a broader discussion in the world with regard to this energetic transition. Thank you very much, Antonio. Thank you very much.
Perfect, Carlos. Thank you very much. Your information is very important. The issue of how to connect with the progress and with the results that we are seeking in the development that fulfills with these 3 bottlenecks that we spoke of, especially. So let's continue. Before beginning then with the experienced panel of the countries, remember we have interpretation where you can select your language of preference: Spanish, Portuguese, and English. Please share your questions and comments in the YouTube chat, and we can talk and have the opportunity to discuss. with the invitation of Agnes Foster, Chief of Special Advisory for Regulatory Issues of the Executive Secretary of Mines and Energy of the Brazilian government. She will tell us about the experience of Brazil. Madam Abrigao, excuse me, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure being here to share with you with the experience of Brazil. I was taking attention. I really like with regard to the reflection that Musi brought, and we need to take, when we want to achieve this sustainability, we need to take into account the different three pillars that he also mentioned. So I will start sharing my presentation just a moment, because I will talk a little bit about our most recent experience and also a success case when we think, and I really hope it will inspire different
also can inspire other countries through the international cooperation of this perspective of good references, benchmarking, evaluating, all the instruments for monitoring
tools for innovation,
investments and innovation.
So in different talks that we
likewise,
have, Musi also talk about the
I'm talking about hydrogen. We're developing our national policy, and one of the pillars
hydrogen
is
so we have here the different
in public policies, investments, and everything that is investment. We're talking about that zero scenario, that
until 2050,
how much we need to develop, and a technological maturity with neutrality in issues of carbon, many technologies. I wonder if these are necessary to achieve this objective in 2050. We're still in the development phase, so we have to pay a lot of attention to these aspects in the different phase of the innovation phase where investments are made to realize this objective of decarbonization. When we start the discussion, the idea together with CEPAL in issues of energy and the European Union to discuss all the investments and innovation, and this third ministerial meeting in 2018 in Switzerland through the Ministry of Foreign Relations and Ministry of Mines and Energy, the EPE. Likewise, there was a big debate on the of data to participate in these types of activities. And from these reflections, we realized that it was obvious that there was no comprehensive and ample database that could have all the information necessary to contribute to the construction of public policy and to make the associations, the alliances, to increase, to support transition, the energetic transition. Based on this, we instituted the Energy Blueprint, which is an initiative of project that a great impulse executive committee that has three great executors of energetic investigation, positive energy for climate change, and CEPAL. We also have, with the international collaboration with International Alliance and other ally institutions, regulatory institutions in the electric sector of petroleum and social economic development, among other execution and innovation in areas of energy. All of these who work in the public sector likewise participate. So in this first phase of the project, we give final results of 2020, and these documents are available in this link here at the lower left side of the page. All the indicators, reflection, likewise incentives. all the necessary information. So we have this webinar as well that demonstrates the results of the work. Now this map demonstrates everything. We shouldn't reinvent the wheel, because if we think of global objectives of decarbonization, it's very important that the information can be spoken of internationally in innovation and investment. Excuse me, but there's an audio problem here. We have the classification of the agency, of energy agency. We entities connected to the state of Brazil, the public investments, or those that are guided to the public sector. In the electric sector in Brazil, have the legal obligation of contributing a percentage of their earnings to investigations. They're guided by in the case of oil, gas, fuel, in issues of concession, reproduction of oil and gas, this is an obligation as well. This was in the concession that should guide the resources of the agents for development companies of innovation and of fuels that regulate. These are companies connected to the Ministry of Energy, and we can recopilate the data and the statistics on the investments from 2013. The same language, and we don't know what's happening. This is what we give priority to, which is more important to, and we want to improve as well. So in the sequence of 2020, we went to 2021 work on the plan was called Innova X, and the more public phase of all of this work and is backed by the energy, where all this information is available. And through this platform, we will continue disseminating these tools, and general society can have access to this information. We have some results that we can visualize now where these investments were carried out, this clean energy that requires a lot of investment in technology, as several others were commented, newer technologies of storage, for example, in energetic efficiency. When we see the 2013 to 2018, all of the amounts
Então, por exemplo, a gente vê aqui a parte de outras tecnologias de energia, não as mais evidentes, né, de energias renováveis, mas também tem, por exemplo, a parte de eficiência energética e outras tecnologias transversais. Então, a gente consegue, com base nisso, ver onde esses recursos estão sendo aplicados e por instituição, por exemplo. E aí, ao longo de 2021, então, a gente conseguiu, né, fazer...
In 2021, we were able to do various things in launching of this platform. We have to enter Mission Innovation likewise, and all of this work that was carried out until reaching and obtaining the platform, something very interesting. Ministry of Mines and Energy indicated a platform that public and private innovations, and these are projects that was began in this project, and this was commented on in Brazil and participated in this first publication. And we, of course, continue giving a lot of value representing the different states in Brazil in this international publication. Now we will go to the area of the ministry on the utilization of information. when in the beginning of last year, the National the organism, the part of power to recommend all of the elements, but it's the first time that this MP pronounced itself on these regulated resources, and based on the law regarding legal competence in the agencies, they have to regularize these resources, but after 20 years of this legislation of their contracts, based on this information that was created by the push, we saw that maybe the investment or the regulation was not observing priority issues for the energetic transition of Brazil. And we saw where the investments were remade. We made 2 sectoral planning studies, one in energy, and with a 10-year plan, a national plan of energy that has a perspective of 30 years. So with these sceneries, the energetic sectors in Brazil, we see areas that need to destine the regulated sources, but these have to do with the energy we gave priority. This is parallel to the 6th resolution of 2021. And this established the directive of using less energy with the Minister of Science and Technology and with the support of the EPE. I could propose guidelines and strategies for 2022 published in August. So the program was Institute of Hydrogen based on the guidelines, last year's guidelines. And this document was the base of the EP, which was of February, and this was for a national program of hydrogen. Likewise, this was a reference as the base of information, all of the data of the push, and everything has to do with innovation. Here is where we see, and launching the platform in 2021, publicly, we have the standardization of the database, a greater process of automation, collecting data, and mapping indicators. In this process, it's very important, and we can strengthen the alliances. So based on this,
E aí tem lá os 13 indicadores, mas muitas questões relevantes que a gente entendeu como importantes, né, para ver onde estamos e para onde estamos indo, né? Então toda essa parte de capacitação, claro, né, o dispêndio público, né, em recursos para P&D e inovação, mas também olhando para o que está sendo feito no setor privado, por exemplo, com essa questão de levantar quais são as empresas inovadoras em energia, e uma questão importante que é a parte de propriedade industrial, né? Quando a gente olha para o conhecimento que está sendo gerado no país e aquilo, como falou o Mussi, né, da gente não agravar desigualdades por meio da inovação, as patentes que estão sendo registradas também, né, em inovação em energia no Brasil. E aí a gente olha aqui, né, então, vários critérios para isso, então, o quanto que isso é relevante para a tomada de decisão, como a gente já mostrou que já tem sido, né? Mas, claro, robustez metodológica, quando a gente fala que tem que ser dados que sigam, né, o framework, no nosso caso, da Agência Internacional de Energia, mas que permita essa comparação internacional. E aí, claro, é muito difícil a gente identificar, né, a categorização, a classificação da categoria energética, em que tecnologia a gente está, de fato, realizando inovação, e entre outras questões. E claro, a gente está produzindo isso, não é para ser um objeto em si, mas para servir a diversos clientes, né? Então, para que a gente possa usar essas informações, e aí a gente tem que, sim, incorporar a perspectiva de vários stakeholders para aperfeiçoar, né, esses indicadores e a própria plataforma e os dados. Então, o que a gente retoma, assim, né, para concluir, que assim, é muito importante, né, para possibilitar a transição energética dos países, a gente aumentar os investimentos em inovação, a própria Agência Internacional de Energia trouxe isso, E a gente tem que, claro, como a gente falou aqui, a gente tem que poder mapear, contar, contabilizar para poder saber para onde a gente está indo, se a gente está conseguindo ter progressos e se a gente está indo na direção né, adequada. Então, com isso, a gente tem que ter, claro, né, clareza sobre os montantes investidos e as opções tecnológicas, e utilizar isso,
the
né,
invested amounts, the technological investments, and to use all of that this is used for the public policy formulators. And this is very interesting to say here because I don't say it enough that in the evidence-based policy in a state as Brazil, we still have a lot of difficulties integrating databases when we design a public policy, pretty much doing regulatory frame analysis, ex ante, subsequent regulatory results. So in the innovative part, we have a positive results. We have a comprehensive database, an integrated database that helps in the formulation of public policies.
E claro, que é muito relevante e é um dos motivos de estarmos aqui todos reunidos, o quanto que isso também pode ser utilizado para facilitar a cooperação, tanto nacionais e internacionais. Então, no próprio Programa Nacional do Hidrogênio, o nosso olhar foi para que fosse um programa que permitisse, né, na sua elaboração, a participação dos entes federativos, por exemplo, quando a gente fala de cooperação internacional e nacional, né? Então, no Brasil, a política energética ela é, por Constituição, uma competência da União, mas a gente sabe que na implementação, em alguns temas específicos, a gente tem muitas competências nos estados também. Então, a gente tem que a gente ter, né, esse esforço, esse trabalho
We need to have that work in order to have systems, methodologies, indicators in order to facilitate this kind of cooperation also nationally. And also fostering also this collaboration between institutions which foster the innovation in the sector of energy in the country. So that's what I wanted to share with you. We talk with a lot of happiness in this work that we are doing together with the CEPA in the European Union, also with the United Kingdom, with also the platform, the United Kingdom, for the launching the platform. We are here at your disposal in order to support other countries on what they need. So thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias, Agnes. Muy interesante la experiencia de Brasil y cómo han logrado integrar, ¿verdad? Lo que mencionaste. Así que,
Thank you very much. Very good, interesting experience from Brazil. So without further ado, I would like to invite Angel Cavieres Cabeza, the head of public policy management in the policy and energy environmental studies of research. And so please share with us the experience in Chile. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you, Antonio. Congratulations, Jaime, for the good presentation that you did. I think we're going to find good elements that we shared in terms of challenges. Also, to mention that I'm very honored of being invited to this workshop to do this presentation. Congratulations to the organizers, both people as well as institutions. The International Energy Agency, I think this is very relevant, and also a great hug to interpreters who are doing a very good job. In this case, as what Antonio mentioned, I'm going to show the experience that we've had in Chile. And for that, I'm going to start with an initial text of the country. First, in terms of energy, to be able to locate ourselves in a scenario where we are applying, and then what has to do with research, development, and innovation in terms of energy. Now, as an overview, this picture shows the importance and the relevance that the power sector has in the struggle against climate change. In Chile, more than a third of the greenhouse gas effects emissions come from the energy sector. And this percentage, around 30%, is given mainly by challenges that our electrical grid is showing, and that's why we're taking some measures. But also we have other challenges which are related to our ways of transport ourselves, and And also on our industries, it's the copper industry nationwide, and also in a bit lesser percentage in all the emissions that have to do with the residential as well as commercial. Therefore, we identified a very key role of the energy sector to be able to face this challenge, not only of the country, but it is also a challenge of the human kind of humanity. For this, Chile has a huge potential in terms of its renewable energies. That means it overpasses in several hundreds of times as a technical potential its current installed capacity. Chile has a variety of renewable energy sources. As you know, a lot of sunlight in the northern part, wind with its wind capacity distributed along the country, but maybe very especially in the southern end of the country. But we also have sources as geothermal sources, and even given the size of our coasts, we see an interesting potential in marine energies, and also obviously in what has to do with uh, water plants or hydroelectrical plants. As it was mentioned before, Chile also has one of the biggest sunlight concentration plants, not only photovoltaic plants, which are complementing also our state of diversification in terms of renewable energy. Besides, Chile has certain characteristics because of its length, which transform it into uh, a natural laboratory for the testing of different technologies. For instance, sub differences in climate, a very dry desert in the northern part. We have also the Patagonia, etc. There are several mountain ranges, several coasts, which actually make it an ideal candidate to test technologies that then can be deployed throughout the country and even be applied in other countries of the world. Therefore, we present this paradox between an energy sector that's very emitting of greenhouse effect gases, and on the other hand, this renewable energies that we have. Now, because of that, the country has committed itself to be neutral carbon by 2050. That has been set in different international commitments, but especially in the frame law of the climate change that recently was approved and endorsed by President Boric, which actually brings certain challenges that we need to face. And as we are seeing it, this is a projection based on the reference scenario, which show us what the main challenges and opportunities that we have identified are to identify to face this challenge that the Chilean state has put in terms of achieve neutrality in carbon by 2050. And as you can see it in the figure now, we have four main elements. The first one is to progress in the good use of energy, where innovation and deployment of technologies or the enablers is essential. And the second measure is something that's ongoing right now, and it is the commitment of the removal, the withdrawal of carbon plants in the country. That's a goal that we need to achieve by 2040. That's our top date deadline to achieve this initiative. Nonetheless, we are making a lot of efforts to expedite the process and to do it earlier. And along with that, to continue to incorporate renewable energies to our electrical system. We know in that sense there are several challenges to face in terms of uh, stability of the grid, and that allows us to incorporate every time more and more variable renewable energies to our system, keeping standards of robustness and resilience that are appropriate. Now, a third element has to do with our transport means, especially with the incorporation of electrical cars or electric vehicles. It's true that Chile is working to change its mode of transport to make the first priority of people um, walking. That means going to the work places or from where you live. If it's to go by walking, if it's not possible to use bicycles, um, public transport, etc. But all of that addressed to be able to decrease our levels of greenhouse gas effects levels. And there's a lot of challenges on that also. There are a lot of challenges, especially in the capacity of the electric grids to be able to support the burden that eventually the high incorporation of electric mobility technology may bring. And a fourth element that's very relevant and that has also been repeated in the previous presentations is the opportunity that's given to us by the green hydrogen. There are two important aspects there. Green hydrogen is a very good opportunity, especially focused on those sectors that are very difficult to defeat with the switch to electrification, as for instance, large mining trucks, which are still consume gas oil or still consume diesel, or um, and it's difficult to transform it so that they use green hydrogen fuel. But on the other hand, we have important challenges in the sense in which we're promoting green hydrogen. We need electric energy necessary and also green energy so that that hydrogen is effectively green. And they come back to the challenges of our electrical grid. Now, that's more in an energy context and what has to do with research, development, and innovation in the sector.
Para
Some
contextualizar
general figures to put a country into context. By 2020, and it has been that way at least in the last couple of decades. It's fluctuating in in expenditure of around 0.36% in the GDP in what has to do with research and development, and very and different from from other countries. We're very far from other countries of the OECD, at least from the mean, from the median. And in terms of our researching quantity of researchers by inhabitant, our average in the last year has been a 1.3, being that we are also very far from what other countries are showing, or what developed countries have shown. Now, the far below, I mean, and also in terms of enterprises, percentage of companies that are innovating, an important figure here that less than a 15% of enterprises in Chile declare that they're innovating. This is a survey that's actually performed in the companies every 2 or 3 years, where they themselves declare that they innovate. We consider that as a figure that we need to increase in a meaningful way. In terms of public budget destinated to research and development in Chile, it fluctuates around 0.2, 0.23%. If we see the ratio of public budget versus private budget, we're in a ratio of 2/3 corresponding to public budget, and 1/3 is allocated by the private sector in Chile. It's a ratio that becomes a challenge for us also to reverse it, to level. The public investment is very relevant, but it is also relevant that private enterprises start to invest also in these aspects. Now, in regards to the public budget percentage allocated especially to the Ministry of Energy, we see it also very low compared to other national sectors. For instance, The Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Finance, for instance, has a bigger budget compared to the Ministry of Energy, in spite of challenges identified to make this energy transition. Therefore, we see it there more like an opportunity to be able to leverage higher percentage of the national budget. And the last slide is showing us in regards to this, it shows us the percentage of how it has evolved in the latest years. The last 3 to 4 years, it has been trending down. So there we have also a challenge of being able to reverse this curve and to be able to increase it in a substantial way, so that we can identify these challenges and face them in a better way. Now, in terms of what we have done in the past and the future challenges, this figure shows some of the most relevant initiatives in terms of public investment in research and development. As a summary, I can tell you that before 2010, for instance, Chile bet for focalized resources in biofuels. However, given the price of hydrocarbons volatility, has been an initiative that really didn't succeed. Then Chile made the decision of focusing in a very strong way in research and development, in making an industry around sun energy, sunlight energy. And at that time, it was identified that there was an important window of opportunity there. Given to that, public policy decision was made to attract international research and development centers so that they could install themselves in Chile. In sun energy, for instance, the Fraunhofer Center was installed, a German center that has a very good reputation internationally, which allowed to have a strong collaboration with the rest of the national research and development ecosystem network. Now, one more important initiative that was decided by 2015 was the incorporation of doing research and development around marine energies or maritime energies, given the potential that I was telling you about the coasts of our country. And there, this trend of attracting international excellence centers was continued, and currently Marine Energy Research and Innovation Center was installed in Chile because of that. And subsequently, as it had been mentioned, the decision has been made of complementing these challenges of renewable energy with the opportunity that green hydrogen brings us, and also electric mobility. And for that, we have also identified and funded or financed technological consortiums in green hydrogen, especially related to challenges brought to us by mining, and in terms of electric mobility. A sustainable acceleration center for electrical mobility is about to be open, which is going to face relevant challenges, as for instance, the interoperability challenges of these different technologies, and also challenges brought to us by the quality of networks. We identified that are necessary to be kept at appropriate quality levels. This as a summary of what has been done in the last years and a bit of what's coming. Now, in terms of country approach, in terms of our government guidelines, we identified that the government programs put some strategic guidelines, where one of them is the transition towards a new development model. And for that, what the government program proposes is to do a transition with this fair ecological concept. We know that it's a very important element, and to do a transition, we identify that all science, technology, and innovation are essential elements to get to a good end. And in that sense, there are three commitments that complement it. One of them is progressing in research and development investment from 0.34% that I showed you up to a 1% of a GDP up until 2026, from here to 2026, and also in terms of strategic orientation that has to do with this mission-oriented innovation approach, which means a strategic innovation by the states. When we talk about mission-oriented innovation, what we're proposing is that we're defining what our big country challenges are. In this case, the social and ecologic fair transition. And for that, we need to identify what the missions or challenges related are. In this case, to subsequently identify a portfolio of projects that may allow us to better coordinate and to get to a good end in this defined mission. In the case of Chile, also at a government level, it was also defined that one of the relevant missions for the energy transition is the development of a green hydrogen industry, a sustainable energy, but also along with very strong respect for communities, for the environment, and for territorial harmony. For that, the Ministry of Energy has guidelines or medium, short and long-term guidelines where they say that innovation is essential to face these challenges. And for that, it is proposing, and I'm just showing three examples here, developing an innovation national plan for energy transition, also with this decentralization approach to develop regional innovation agendas, and also what has to do with this encounter to make a national research, development, and innovation national observatory center. Now, given the time limitations, I'm going to go to final reflections on what we have identified. First of all, it has to do with, and it was also mentioned in the previous presentation, that's related to challenges given to us by public coordination. In Chile, it's been 3 years since we have a new ministry, and it is the Ministry of Science, Technology, Knowledge, and Innovation Ministry. And we're also at a stage of laying the foundations to coordinate the energy innovation, to see how both public institutions can coordinate, not only coordinate, but also collaborate, and that way to be able to make a good tracing, tracking, and to generate the strategic policies in a coordinated way and guidelines. And also, and what has to do with green hydrogen, for instance, not long ago, a cross-ministerial board was launched for green hydrogen industry, where 11 ministries are participating. Among them, we have, besides Ministry of Energy, besides the Ministry of Science, there is the Ministry of Environment, there's the Ministry of Economy or Ministry of Finance, and some others. Therefore, that's an instance of collaboration and public collaboration, which is very relevant, that we started with this specific challenge and this mission on green hydrogen. One more important challenge is it's true that Chile has a collection of its research and development indicators with international standards. For us, it is important to follow, to continue under these standards and to continue improving and to generate this learning throughout time, and especially considering that our public research and development budgets should be considerably increased in the next years. Also, an important challenge is that we have identified and recently or lately has to do with the identification of cross-disciplinary research or multidisciplinary research. As we saw, our challenge is to make a fair social and ecological transition where not only technological challenges are relevant, but also everything regarding more of a social, environmental, and territorial ecosystem that these challenges are bringing us. So therefore, research and development does not only come from the technical part, but it also comes from one more element, which finally or some more elements that are going to make it visible of feasible. Now, one more essential element as a challenge for ourselves is the desegregation of data in focus, as well as our regional desegregation, taking this decentralization guidelines into account, and also some other elements that are very relevant for the government, as for instance, the gender approach. That means knowing who resources are being assigned to, that's something also very relevant. And we're also identifying challenges with new promotion instruments that are going to be launched in the country. For instance, in the government program, we have uh, planned developing a development bank and having a development bank, and also doing a follow-up of these funds that should be delivered. And as a next steps and related to the previous presentation, we have the challenge of, as I was mentioning, of developing, designing, and make available a national innovation observatory for energy transition, where we expect from here not only to design good indicators, but also it has the purpose of giving appropriate signs to invest by the private sector in development and in research and development, and being able to have a broad scope, decreasing the level of uncertainty to manage risk in a transparent way, but especially promoting collaboration between different stakeholders and agents of the innovation, development, and innovation and entrepreneurship agents in the national energy sector. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Perfecto, muchas gracias, Ángel. Muy interesante.
Perfect, Angel. Thank you very much. And
La experiencia de Chile.
very interesting experience from Chile. Before we go to the Q&A,
Todo el mundo
I would like to invite, well, I would like to invite everyone to write your questions on the YouTube platform.
iba a preguntar, Ángel,
Something I wanted to ask you, Angel, if you could clarify. You mentioned there, as the budget has been decreasing, but in 2014 the budget increased in a meaningful way. I don't know if you want to tell us a bit about that. Yes, it was a moment of, it was an inflection point that was, or a bending point that was very interesting. It was a moment in which it was decided to, first of all, this public policy of attraction of international excellence centers. Therefore, an important part of that budget that's identified there comes in that sense. In sun energy, I was mentioning Frank Hofer Institute, but also there are other centers. There's one related to Engie Laborelec, for instance. There was this marine energy center that I mentioned, and also that year, other types of centers are promoted, not internationally, but national centers or domestic centers. For instance, there is a very interesting center which is developing the first photovoltaic bifacial panel, but considering very harsh conditions that are given to us by the northern part of the country. We identify there that there is an important potential of R&D, given the fact that international development were not giving us the appropriate response for specific conditions of the country. Therefore, it was a very good opportunity for us to focalize resources in that sense. And also very valuable resources with the deployment of the power sun concentration plan or sunlight concentration plan that started those years also. So there was very relevant amount of public budget that was allocated to that initiative. Okay, right. You were lucky to be very active in renewable energy for those years and to do consultancy for we had the luck of doing assistance from the Inter-American Bank, and that's very sad years later how the investment decreased. We have a question here. On you as Agnes, what do you see are the main technological opportunities for recovery in Chile and Brazil? Let's start with Brazil so that we can invite again
Claro, claro.
Brazil.
Temos vários. Eu acho que no caso do Brasil, a gente sempre diz que o nosso maior desafio é lidar com a abundância, mas o que permite também, por outro lado, a gente ter escolhas, né? Então, o que a gente tem visto e tem investido bastante do nosso tempo, primeiro, toda a agenda de biocombustíveis, né? E combustíveis mais modernos, como o próprio Mussi mencionou. Então, a gente tem um programa em curso que chama Combustível do Futuro, que está olhando para isso. Depois, como a gente falou aqui, a parte de hidrogênio, com certeza. E aí, quando a gente olha para o tamanho do Brasil, né?
When you look at the size of Brazilian territory, the availability of power resources and clean energies that do not issue, we understand that we must allow for the constitution of a policy for the renewable energy. So with the use of the several resources, we try to refer to it as a colorblind energy, so that we using these resources and facing the private sector, and with the result as the market, we know that this is a process in which the agents and the private initiative and investors should take part in it, so that they can choose its trajectories as for the most convenient means, so that at the end of this trajectory of an energy transition, we could reach to the carbonized energy. So low carbon hydrogen is the most important focus, but we are not choosing a specific route to the public policy. Also, we must reinforce another very relevant process in the modernization, which involves the power section, the energy sector, which intends to modernize the roles in the power sector in order to provide innovations from the demand side. So we're talking about making our sector enabled to adopt projects or initiatives or technologies that can provide for a better system to the demand, and new designs by means of hybrid projects. So this is also something that we have seen as very promising, and we have invested for a long time in the Brazilian policies.
Perfecto, muchas gracias, Ignacio Costa. Sobre la experiencia de Chile, adelante.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now about the experience in Chile. Angel, the question is the main technological opportunities giving or that are showing that are happening for a sustainable recovery. I would say within the main ones we have how we can do a transition towards a zero emission electric grid, having the levels of stability and of quality of supplies at high levels. Given the massive incorporation of renewable energy variable to a system, is that we see several challenges where technologies, as for instance of incorporation of synthetic synergy incorporations, can give us this stability that can give us that doesn't put a ceiling to or threshold to the incorporation of renewable variable energies to the system. As I mentioned, also it's very important the challenges that have to do with massive incorporation of electric cars, electric vehicles to our networks, to our grids, in two main environments. As I mentioned, on the one hand, in Chile, there is a broad deployment of different types of electric vehicles, different brands, different models or models. Therefore, we have important challenges in terms of giving a good service. Therefore, the interoperability of systems is becoming a very critical element. And therefore, we see there, it's true that there are several aspects that are improved with a good regulation. There are other aspects also that are that's necessary. The proper incorporation of proper technology is necessary. Now, the counterflow is necessary, not that from the electric grid the vehicle can be fed, but also that in certain conditions, in certain moments, it could be all the way around from the vehicle towards the grid. We see an important opportunity also since Chile has a lot of natural catastrophes, natural disasters, events that can be an important opportunity also to improve the stability and resilience of systems before these events, for instance. Now, one more important element that we see has to do with the incorporation of digital technologies to our systems at several levels. The improvement in the electric grid management, but also in incorporating digitalization technologies in the industry. Recently, since 1.5 years ago, Chile has an energy efficiency law where a mandate is incorporated so that the large energy consumers have an energy management system that's appropriate and also see there an important role of a technological deployment that allows not only to be monitoring the energy consumption of large enterprises, but it also allows us to make the best decisions. Now, a fourth element has to do with the opportunities that are presented to us by green hydrogen. As I was mentioning, we see a good opportunity there, especially for those sectors where it is very difficult to electrify, where hydrogen there has a very important opportunity. But we also know that it's very relevant that in order to have green hydrogen, we need to have an electric grid that gives us that renewable energy. And also there, new opportunities emerge, new opportunities for innovation and incorporation of technologies, as for instance, for the certification of renewable energy coming to different projects. There we come into a blockchain world, for instance, where we have a couple of good examples in Chile that allow us or allows us that certification. And now one more important and relevant element that it has to do with what we see that innovation and technological development is essential. It's true that Chile has very good percentage, almost 99% of population has electricity, access to electricity. Still, we have a percentage that we have to reach, to achieve. Very isolated areas, very remote islands, regions that are very away from from the urban centers, from the cities, where, for instance, they don't have very good communication systems. There, we also see a very relevant element, which besides directly impacts in the quality of life of people. Therefore, it is becoming a priority for us. Just scanning of some of the challenges that we have identified that we want to face as a country. Yes, this topic gives us for a lot of things to mention. But okay, let's continue focused on the topic or subject of our conversation. Now, coming back to Brazil and Chile in the examples, in what areas do you find that Brazil and Chile could get to have leadership at an international level, short term and also long term? Agnes, maybe your turn. Let's go back with Brazil.
Well, well, regarding fossils, certainly. And then we have an agenda that's very relevant it's important to show its relevance based on the information that we have, electrification of power. And we understand that electrification is a trend, but there are sectors that we cannot solve with electrification only, powering only. So we have to modernize our fuel matrix. So also in the hydrogen part, and it's very interesting also because we have the National Hydrogen Project, and we had discussion about green hydrogen, and it has been like Bolsonaro has mentioned the intention to increase the imports, and Brazil was mentioned as a very important player in this for being very competitive here. And this is what I said before. We understand that it's very important to have this look to the market, to the domestic market as well as international, but we also discussed this here. So when you talk about leadership, it's very interesting. The discussion is very interesting because there are many countries that want to be leaders, but what's actually more important, more relevant is to have countries participating in an equal ground of these discussions. And actually, I think our duty is to discuss solutions that are the most inclusive possible for all realities in all countries. So in this sense, it's important to have a seat in the table to discuss hydrogen, but it's not the fact that we don't believe that our model of hydrogen and fuels are going to be dominant, but also contributing to for countries to reach their decarbonization first. And there are many options.
Thank you, Agnes. We're getting to the time that we had allocated to this event. So I'd like to invite Angel to tell us a bit about the vision of Chile in this subject. And from there, we're going to start to wrap up the event. And thank you very much. Go ahead, Angel. Very interesting what Agnes was mentioning in the final part of this, because why is it that our main driver is to be leaders global wide? I think Chile, we're questioning ourselves on that, and what we want to massify is the positive impact that the technological development and deployment gets to its territories themselves. So instead of being leaders global wide, we're proposing ourselves to have a better coverage, reach of those areas that are not haven't been reached. Now, in terms of energy in particular, as I mentioned, at the level of large designing countries for photovoltaic solutions, for instance, are not giving us the appropriate solutions to specific characteristics that we have. Therefore, it is necessary that Chile make some efforts there. Now, also in terms of maritime energy or marine energy, thinking long term, it's true that they are not technologies that are cost effective. We do believe that if we continue to work on that, at some point, we will be able to make a difference there. But especially, I would like to stress what I mentioned in the presentation, and it is that Chile has these natural laboratory characteristics that are very important, and they would like to continue to highlight, given its climate, weather conditions, geographical conditions. It allows us to continue to test technologies in very extreme conditions that allow us to later on, in an easier way, to be able to make the deployment towards other less aggressive conditions. Therefore, I would say that's one of the core elements that we're working on. Perfect, Angel. Thank you very much. And it caught my attention. Maybe I didn't miss the. I'm sorry, I missed the marine energy that you did not show in the presentation, but still, there is a way to go to make it competitive in terms of price. Now, thank you. Very interesting, the subject of fuels in Brazil, and where Agnes mentioned being participant in this energy transition is key, and what Chile mentioned, Angel mentioned, being a laboratory of high potential to test a lot of things that can help for the rest of the world. Now, given the fact that we're just on time, I would like to invite the panelists so that they can switch on their cameras. We're going to take a picture, so maybe you can turn on your cameras, the ones that are here. And finally, I would like to give the floor to Maros Bull to close the event.
Thank you very much,
So I'd like to
Antonio.
invite to switch on your cameras. Gracias, Antonio. Yes,
I
Ingrid, go
hope
ahead.
you hear me well. Hi, everyone. I am very delighted to be here today with you and to listen to the experiences of Brazil and Chile that I do believe can be applied by many other MI members just as well. It's been a very rich session with fantastic speakers, and I think that we all have learned a lot from these two countries. And moreover, it really serves as a good building block, I would say, for some of the future discussions and follow-ups that is not only between Chile and Brazil, but also other MI members, as well as Mission Innovation Secretariat. Tracking progress has always been a very crucial part for the MI Secretariat. As many say, we don't know what we don't track. And surely public R&D data collection is one of the very key components. For over a year now, we are operating in the second phase of Mission Innovation, and we have established an insights module that is working on strengthening evidence on public and private sector investments, clean energy technology progress, and also accelerating learning from national programs. Public R&D data collection is a very important mechanism to show the progress that the MI members are making in shaping the trajectories to reach our clean energy innovation goals, and to highlight gaps or prioritization needs as well. So all MI members in the second phase have agreed to sustain or increase investments in clean energy RD&D. So reporting on the progress made in this front is absolutely needed. Also, some of you are already familiar with certain work streams of ours, such as a yearly MI country highlights report and the National Innovation Pathways Roundup, for which this year we actually collected information from members for the very first time. So these activities aim to illustrate MI members' current and future energy and innovation plans, as well as to reflect on the already undertaken activities regarding the clean energy innovation policies, strategies, and initiatives. So the Insights module is undoubtedly very keen to support members in their efforts to monitor clean energy innovation progress. And it works together with our partners like IEA and IRENA, as well as European Commission's Joint Research Center, where I come from, to collect and analyze innovation data, which then also promotes transparency and integrity. It facilitates collaboration among members and encourages further private sector engagement as well. We know that there's also a lot to improve in areas where we don't have sufficient evidence currently, and evidence can really change the conversation, shift the focus of investments, and even, I would say, a pace at which we move forward to reaching our climate and energy goals. And this is a very important part for the next decade of action and acceleration of clean energy transition. An additional step that MI Secretariat took together with the IEA this year, like it was mentioned by Susie in the beginning, is aligning our public R&D data collection processes so that all MI members report on their investment only via the IEA's questionnaire, and they no longer need to report it twice, so that a single set of data is being produced. We really understand how challenging the reporting process is, and we know it is also important to simplify it whenever possible. So the Insights module will also work on other clean energy indicators, such as patents and private R&D investments, collecting them into basically one hub. As well as also we're going to liaise with members and increase capacity for R&D data collection by organizing hopefully somewhat similar events in the future as well, providing members really a platform to share their experiences, exchange, and learn from others as well. So if you would like to discuss more, bring your ideas forward or ask any related questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with MI Secretariat, as your contributions are, of course, extremely valuable for us. And just one last thing before we close today, I would like to invite you all to join us in the US in Pittsburgh for MI7 and SEM13 Ministerial. That's going to be taking place in a little over 2 weeks from now, and to join one of our side events on innovation cooperation. where we will also have a session dedicated to the topic of measuring progress. The event will take place on Friday, 23rd September, and it's co-hosted by the Joint Research Center, IEA, and IRENA, and my secretariat, and the Government of India. Our event will surely consider the key takeaways of this workshop as well. And we will circulate the invitation and hope to have live streaming options so that those who can't attend in person can tune in online. Yeah, so I hope to see many of you there. Many thanks to all the speakers and participants and also the interpreters, of course. And I wish you a very nice day.
Perfecto, muchas gracias Ingrid, muchas gracias a todos los participantes.
Perfect, Ingrid, thank you very much. Thank you all participants and to all those who joined us on YouTube. And well, we'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.